also interesting and also involving the points is we had an interesting a surprise sign up, I guess, or at least I was surprised, and I
Oh,
feel like the world was surprised when Scott Bloomquist signs up to run he is at Talladega, which we knew he was going to be there, or
Well,
he
we were
said he
told he was
was. You
coming.
know
supposed to
how
be there.
Bloomquist is, but he was there, and not only was he at the track, he is now on tour. He signed up for the loyalty program, and which made 23 drivers. Had Corey Hedgecock sign up as well, which was also a surprise. But getting Bloomquist on tour and having him, it seems like building his season around our series, the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series. Obviously that's not going to be all that he races, and who knows where it goes. But it feels to me like he's looked at our series and said, we'll run that. And then, obviously that leaves him open to go to Eldora and a lot of other national stuff as well. But, as a series promoter and being the one in charge of putting that together, the series together, the schedule together, does that make you feel like you put something good together, Joshua?
Yeah, I think so. And it wasn't just me. There was a lot of work that went into, what we were doing and offering, getting the tracks on board to make, to do the payouts to make it appealing. Scheduling, I think goes a lot of it goes to scheduling and making the
Mm-hmm.
schedule make sense. But yeah, I think it definitely, our goal was to create a series that pretty much anyone within, our radius is about a 5 or 6 hour drive of Atlanta, right?
Right.
Is, trying to be within 5, but there's a couple that are a little outside of that. And so that if you look at who that encompasses, like the drivers, and I think that's important where a lot of regional series or, if you're not a full on national tour and going, pretty much all over the country and paying guys the money to make that make sense. But if you're not doing that and you're racing regionally, like who are you actually targeting, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what driver are you actually trying to get to run your series? And does all these races make sense? And again, our, you know, guiding light in that was, try to be within a 5 hour radius of Atlanta. And if, as far as drivers go, if you make that circle 5 to 6 hours, it includes obviously Florida, uh, Panhandle, and Florida. If you're going to race, you're going to be far from anything. So especially the South Florida guys. So if you want to run a series, it would include them. You go up into the Carolinas, East Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, a little bit into Mississippi there. And so that was our goal, was to get guys from that region, right?
Right.
And have a good mix of guys. And it's cool to see that we really got the Carolina guys on board. We already had a good group of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama guys, and they a good bit of them came back. A couple more with Ashton Winger and Clay Harris and Jackson Hives in the Florida group. So it's been Sam Seawright in the Alabama group. The one spot that was missing going into the weekend where we didn't have, I felt like, good representation was East Tennessee, right? You had Josh Henry, who's pretty solid and had a good run going until he had a
Had a
flat this
flat.
week.
Yeah, had a flat.
Yep. But I wanted to see. I was like, man, I really wish we'd gotten more from there. And I knew there was potential. Corey, I didn't know. He hadn't really. We did talk at Alltech, and he didn't really feel like it was a good fit for him right now with the chassis business and everything to commit to a series. But he texted me Friday night, saying, hey, I want to talk to you Saturday and or want to talk about it. And we talked about it, and he decided to do it.
Yeah, and he
I
got a
think it'd
good
be,
run in.
yeah. And he
yeah.
said, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think honestly, if I mean, I think I've kind of told him you're kind of dumb not to do it. I feel like at least
Yeah.
try it. You could win this deal.
Mm-hmm.
But
What better way to sell chassis than come out and win a pretty rep at this point? It's a reputable series.
Right. It would get a lot of
so
attention.
it would get
definitely
attention.
would. And I feel like, just to shout out to Josh, what you do again, I know it's got to be on his mind of those guys are going to put my brand, my chassis business, if I run well, in front of a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
with
I mean,
the media side of things.
Mhm.
Back to Bloomquist though, were you surprised at did you have any idea Bloomquist was going to sign on for the entire tour?
Yeah. So just to finish that thought, is you got two guys from East Tennessee, Bloomquist and
Hedgecock.
Corey Hedgecock. I really feel like if you look at it, and I hadn't like actually lined it out, but we've got good representation from all those areas we were trying to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, we have been going. We knew that there was potential since PRI that Scott was putting off his surgery. I think his shoulder surgery he needs. That was going to keep him out till mid season. He's decided to put it off, and he put out a schedule, and that schedule had. I say he put out. It was. I think he just took it to show sponsors. Potential sponsors.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I'm gonna try to do this year.
Yeah, and it got leaked, if you will. Ended up, pictures of it on of the printout on Facebook, and it had a lot of our races, all but like 2 weekends, I think. And so, yeah, there was some talk. We know some of the folks involved in his race team. Devin Jones, kind of a guy from our area, former
Mm-hmm.
racer and promoter.
We
And
used to race him every Saturday
yeah,
night at Southern
Joseph
Raceway.
drove for him
Yeah.
a couple times, and some of his equipment here and there. He reached out and, we talked, and I mean, we talked. I didn't think so. He's trying to get stuff together. I think last I heard, they're down on engines a little bit. Don't have a full fleet, enough that
Mm-hmm.
they felt comfortable saying committing to anything in case they lose an engine and put them, kind of put them in a hole. So I didn't think they'd actually, commit to running the series. And it's important to know is it doesn't mean just because a guy signs up, and we're realistic, just like the Outlaws are realistic and the Lucas Oil Series is realistic. Is guys are going to go as long as it makes sense. And
Right.
for Scott, he had he was okay at Talladega. He was running mid pack, and then had a run in with the competition.
Yeah. When I saw him sitting there, I'm like, oh. Because he's a guy that he's going to have to run well to stick with it. You know what I mean?
And that's what is a lot of these guys, some of them are one bad run away from saying, it doesn't make sense for me to continue, right?
Right.
Some of them it's going to take a little more, right? They understand that one race doesn't make a season, but like you start seeing other races that, you have to drive past to come to our race, and you're already in a hole, and it might make sense not to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get that. We will not have, we're at 23 right now. Mark Fleischer, I'm not sure, from Yulee, Florida, where I used to live. Also signed up, by the way. We didn't get a chance because right last minute when registration closed. But he signed up for the loyalty program.
Rookie as well.
Rookie of the year. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we got 23 guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could go more. Obviously other guys end up signing up, but of those 23, I don't expect. I'll be happy if 10 guys run the whole series, right? By the end of the year. We're realistic about it. Is Scott gonna run the whole series? I don't know. Will he be at Alltech? I don't know, but he paid his loyalty program, right?
We hope so.
So he's at least considering it. Is all I can say.
I was a little worried about that. And it was just his crew guy or one of the guys. He had a blue shirt on. He's working on the car. I'm like, hey, we'll see y'all at the next one, right? And he's like, oh yeah, we'll be there. I'm like, okay.
I hope so. I mean, I'd love to have Scott. I mean, I feel like our series is a good fit for Scott, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I really do. He's, whether I'm not one to say whether he's done, right, or he's people washed up. Like I don't think there's clearly he's not at the level he once was when he was at his prime, but that doesn't mean he can't compete, right? Like he showed that going to Charlotte and setting fast time.
Oh yeah, that was
one of the
impressive.
fields of the year.
Well,
like
he'd also hadn't been at Talladega in how long, and he went
since
in
94 or 95. He couldn't remember.
I couldn't believe that.
That's hard. When would he was national touring, and for the longest time, Talladega didn't have national tour races. So anyway, I knew it was we knew it was a long time. It wasn't. The track was good and wasn't. It had character, and I don't say that as it had character, like it, like you're afraid to say it was rough. It had character, right? There was a couple spots where it had a little character, and it had a cushion right to it. And you had to be, at least in 1 and 2, you really had to kind of be on the cushion. Like not, if you weren't really good, like Overton and Ferguson, those guys, and Hedgecock, like a lot of guys then were relying on the cushion to be fast. And that's not Scott. It's never been a one to bang the cushion. He's definitely not now. So I don't think you can judge. Talladega was not his cup of tea, is what I'm saying. As far as not being there in a while, not really being his track style. Alltech looks to me a lot more like you could see, like it would not surprise you. I know he hasn't ran there a whole lot, but that's a place I feel like Scott Bloomquist could be really good. Like it fits
exactly
his driving style. What we've seen him, kind of just in the slick, and when the track slows down and he's just really good. I could see him being good there. So, and then obviously we go to Smoky Mountain. I think they'll at least stay on through Smoky Mountain because we go right there to his in his home area.
Did Scott exceed or meet or fall short of expectations for Talladega? Jesse, what do you think?
Well, I know. I think I asked Joseph on up there, like, do you think Bloomquist makes the show? So with that being said, I think he did great. I mean, qualified well.
Yeah.
Transferred out of a heat race. Like, he did good in my opinion.
You'd like to see him finish out the race. I don't know where he was running. Was he right around the top 10? Possibly.
I
I
think
Close.
he was like, I'd have to know exactly, but he was like 12th or 13th. And I think,
mm-hmm,
yeah, I think if he can finish the race there, he's, you're looking for, he could have been around the top 10,
right.
and
Yeah.
for that track, first race of the season,
Mm-hmm.
first race at Talladega in a long, long time, like he's still getting back in the car from his, injuries and everything. Like, I think that would have been a solid, I think he was on track for a solid return,
Right.
on par there. And unfortunately he had to run in with the cushion
Right.
that,
Cut short.
took him out.